Well, Robert, speaking of lynching juries, nothing can be more of a segue into the man that we're going to bring in right now, where they didn't even have a lynching jury for the trial on the merits. They had a lynching jury for the trial on the quantum. I'm going to bring them in. They're talking. There's Alex Jones, and I'm gonna mess up his name now. Hold on. I'm going to bring him in right now. Daria, if you're watching, everybody, Alex, I'm bringing you in 3, 2, 1.
So much smarter
Gentlemen.
when I stopped making money a couple of years ago and had a hard time. And this is going to waken up some amazing things in you, Alex. I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for us.
All right, we got Robert Barnes and Viva Frei here.
This is the crossover the world did not know it needed, but it's going to get right now regardless. Look at this. Inception.
Yeah, sorry, went to you late. Everything got behind and late. Guys, everybody wants to know about what's happening here. You're both two great lawyers. Barnes, a current lawyer. Don't want to talk about it, but you're really smart, Viva. Like you said, you're not just a great talk show host. You are not obnoxious. You're the most intrepid. I love you. And you remind me like a...
Alex.
You remind me of like a honey badger, killing a goat or something. But the point, or killing a lion. The point is, this is the takedown happening. Barnes told me years ago, it's all right, they're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And here we are. What do you think their insane attack on us, because you nailed it, Viva, signifies for what's coming in the future?
Well, Alex, I'm gonna stroke Robert's ego for a second, because for those who don't know, let me see. Hold on. Whatever. We're gonna live with double Viva. Apparently, whoever came down to shut down Infowars out in Texas, Robert was saying a while back, if you stay in Texas, even in Austin, you're not necessarily going to be safe from the lawfare. So, who came, Alex, to put a padlock on the door? Was it the CRO? Was it someone from the court? Who was it specific?
No, it was the CRO. And I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer like Barnes is, and an IRS expert, but it's 100% clear cut that in an LLC like Infowars, I am the sole member. I make the decision. So you can't shut this down or fire people without me. This guy behaved like that. So I learned, because I saw weird behavior by the security guys. It's an outside company that I had for years, but now this guy's all going around, attacking me. They were looking at me, and I just picked up, something's going on. So I made some calls, and they're like, yeah, we just learned they're shutting it down at 9 p.m. tonight. So it was the CRO that was going to close us tonight. Even though the judge didn't say do it. There's a hearing in 2 weeks. He was going to continue us on. So some desperate message came in, and then the same CRO has literally, in my opinion, and it's, when I say opinion, that's a little proviso, literally tried to set me up. As Barnes warned me, they'll try to put you in jail through this. They had the Justice Department involved at my depositions, all of it, which they never do, like a 1 in 1,000 show. But they couldn't find anything because I'm completely a straight, Barnes, he didn't like client privilege being given up, but Barnes was, done lawyer advice for me. He looked at our books, had a big law firm do it, said, you overpaid taxes $7 million. You should put in a thing for that and get that back. It was true. The IRS audited us. They only gave us $4 million, but they said this is unprecedented. So I overpaid taxes. I never cheated on anything. I had outside accounting firms. And so, and Barnes knows secretly, because, I told him all the other stuff with the FBI and the Russian offer monies and the, all the rest of the stuff that went on. I went and told the FBI about it because they're the ones doing it to say, you better stop. So it's on record. I'm a part of it. But this is all part of the same stuff we've seen with Trump. This is an epic total assault, and it has totally exploded in their face right now. So you guys just talk about it. And I'm listening to you. I got an earpiece, but I've been sitting there for 2 hours. I got to take a piss. So I'm listening to, Viva Frei, Robert Barnes. You take it away.
Just make sure your mic is off before you go to the bathroom, Alex. Robert.
Yeah, that was like when I was on with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy starts pissing. And I could see it was him, and he was sorry. And then they said, well, Viva Frei Vivek Ramaswamy just dominated this whole discussion.
Robert, can you explain it? Some people were positing that the CRO was coming in on behalf of an unpaid creditor. And my understanding is, even if that's true, the unpaid creditor still needs to get court-appointed authorization or court authorization.
Yeah, no, it's not even that. And I'm not a lawyer, but my lawyers are like, God, you know more than we do, because I'm in it all the time. I've learned it. My dad's lawyers, because he has a debt owed to him because they haven't paid him for supplements, so that's in front of them. They were saying to them in the last 3 months, hey, you better keep it in federal court and I give it to Judge Guerra Gamble in Austin. She'll shut it down right away. I've talked to outside lawyers, the top people. I went and consulted. I've spent days, in the last week, but even months. I've spent a lot of time. They're like, yeah, the default's to do that. So the CRO won't do that. He says, everything's fine. We're going to just go to the hearing on the 14th where the judge said, if there's not a settlement, I'm going to shut it down. but I'll give it back to Alex Jones. So instead, he just keeps telling me everything's fine, we're fine. And then they got panicked in the last few days and tried to padlock the company at 9 p.m. I just found out about it and shut it down. So I don't know all the moving parts. It's hard to figure out, but something happened after the Trump conviction. We're in full war, 150 something days from the election. And so I can't explain that. All I know is I was in bankruptcy when Infowars was. That was 2 years ago. And then 6 months in, I declared bankruptcy. I'm out of money. And I had some sponsors that were paying me directly. Most of the sponsorship was there. So they killed the $12 million of sponsorship as soon as the CRO got in. And then they said, oh, you just keep that money. Well, I went to my lawyers and I said, I'm not going to keep this money. Am I allowed to do that? They go, no, this is crazy. So they're in meetings and recording it. I was. And they're like, no, you just keep that money. We can't keep the money. So that all goes through. And then he goes and files in the court that we were stealing money last year. And we're like, we already filed in the court, you dumb bastard, that we have this money or trying to get you to take it. And we have these witnesses, and my lawyers were in, like, I had 3 lawyers, actually plenty of witnesses in the meeting. They go, don't meet with that guy. You're being set up, blah, blah, blah. We've never seen this before, but this is the standard deal. And then he, in a secret filing, does it in March. And I learn about it, and I call him, and he calls me back, and I recorded that, and he says, I didn't file that. It's fake. The next week, he testified in court that I was incompetent and should be fired. So this guy thinks I'm like a moron that can't read court filings, doesn't have counsel. So this is, what was crazy is the ham-fistedness of it. So, and we have Harmon as a witness as well, where Harmon has been here 22 years. He's the sales manager. And we're like, he's the sales manager. Bring him over. Either increase his salary or give him a percentage. That's how sales works. And they go, no, we're not going to pay ad agencies 10%, which is 30% for most people. I know how to really get them down. I'm kind of good at that. Like, no, we're not doing your deal. You get 10%. Standard's 30. This guy, you're incompetent. We don't pay them anything. And I'm like, okay, what do you know? You used to like put into bankruptcy Mexican food restaurants. And so I'm sitting there knowing I'm being set up, so I'm checking everything with lawyers. They go, let's go into the meeting, let's get it on record. Boom, this guy's trying to set you up. So I go in, I'm sitting here, and he's doing this, and then he goes back and files it again and says, I want to take over free speech systems. I want to fire Alex Jones. This is 3 months ago.
Let me ask you, Alex, just this guy is whom, not by name, but by function. It's
no, his name is Patrick McGill. So you only have a pool of bankruptcy accountants you can use. He's a CPA. And so no one would take the job, and they go, oh, here's the guy. And I'm like, well, America's not that corrupt. This guy's not an operative. And then in my opinion, yeah, right. That's exactly what happened. So the point is my lawyers who are top shelf, but they know I'll say stuff. So they don't even tell me. They go, do not ever be in a room alone with him. Watch your ass. Watch your shit. This is like when he came on, they go, oh my God. I said to my lawyers, they said, we're not going to say anything. Just trust us. Do never be in a room alone with him. They were like fucking panicked. They're like, oh my God. I was like, well, what have I done? I'm like Darth Vader in, okay? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I was like, okay, just don't ever meet with him alone. And then he runs around trying to say that I'm stealing money. And he's so lazy. We filed in the court that, hey, because John Harmon's great, but the main sponsors is coming with money, and then I do the work. I produce the ad. I actually do everything. I shoot the ad. But Harmon is there for anybody that has a talk show, and I've never made it a secret, maybe 1 out of 20 guests has a book. We're already going to do it. They go, hey, we love you. If you plug it extra hard, we'll sign a contract, give you 5%. So Harmon's willing for like $5,000 or whatever the little book makes or whatever it is. He's been here 22 years. Board op, producer, phone screener. He's done it all. Great, fucking amazing guy. I would give him the crumbs because he would do the work and give him like 5%. So he's been here decades doing this. So I'm like, hey, this guy's got 200 grand over here in the last couple of months, which sounds like a lot. To fund this is nothing. The main sponsorship was $12 million a year when he killed it all the year before he came in. He kills $12 million in advertising. It was actually more than that they were ready to do. 40 million. So he kills that and then says, but don't worry, I've killed all your major advertising that's direct paid into us by major companies, but you and Harmon can just keep that money. And Harmon goes, hey, can I have my 5% now? And I go, no, John, my lawyers say we've got to go get a deal because we can't do that. It's in bankruptcy. We got to give the money to free speech. Now, he should sign you on as a sales manager and pay your 5%. And so we're in meeting after meeting with my lawyers, and my lawyers go, something's not right. We're going to follow the court. 2 months, 3 months has gone on. He won't take the money. We think it's a setup. And then that's exactly what it was. And then he goes to the court and says, I caught him with money, even though I'm with 3 lawyers and a CPA with him. And he was too dumb to know we followed 2 months before he did it in the report. Then he does it again in March, 6 months later, and tells the court, I got to fire Alex Jones and take over. He's incompetent. I call him stealing money.
Alex, if I may ask you...
So I'm going to stop. I got to piss. I'm listening to you. You want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Well, the question is going to be when you come back, what was the rationale, the justification for killing the $12 million in advertising revenue? But before you go do your business. Barnes is going to chime in right now on...
Yeah, I'm listening. By the way, I'm not ignoring. I'm listening.
Go for it. And I'll let's see which screen.
We're commercial free, so I got to.
Robert, rationalize, break down what Alex just said to the general public.
Oh, we're supposed to go to the hour's end. Cut the break.
So this is the problem and the risks of the bankruptcy process. Like the bankruptcy under the U.S. Constitution, the power to regulate bankruptcy is given to Congress to pass certain laws. Congress has passed those laws to provide for bankruptcy being an option to resolve when your debts exceed your income stream over a certain time frame, whether you're an individual or a business. And what's supposed to happen once Alex Jones and Infowars filed for bankruptcy protection, then the obligation of the bankruptcy court, the obligation in this case of the creditors, the obligation of the other officials associated or affiliated with the bankruptcy court or appointed by power of the bankruptcy court, all of those people have an ethical and professional and legal obligation. One could even argue constitutional obligation because of the origins of bankruptcy laws to maximize the value of the estate. And what, in the case of Alex Jones and Infowars, is maximizing the value of the state? It's improving and increasing the reach of Infowars. It's improving and increasing the reach of Alex Jones. And it is in particular protecting the biggest and best asset for either Alex Jones or Infowars, which is Alex Jones. Alex Jones is their asset. Separate assessments had been made in prior legal proceedings that showed the economic value of Infowars was entirely Alex Jones, and that Alex Jones' value could
my name doesn't even come up.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Could be quite substantial. And so that's what they're supposed to be doing. And now the problem is the principal unsecured creditors, the plaintiff's lawyers, have never, in my opinion, cared about their own clients.
But it's not your opinion. It's not your opinion. They said on the courthouse steps in Texas and Connecticut, we don't want money. We want to shut him down. So because the law says they've actually got to try to get money, they act like they do, but that's it. There's no settlement.
That's their fiduciary obligation. That's their professional obligation to their client, is to maximize recovery for their client. But they've admitted in multiple public proceedings and public statements that that's not their goal. Their goal is they use these lawsuits to shut down Alex Jones, to shut down Infowars, to shut down the most important dissident opinion on the right concerning issues of the war and the surveillance state and the deep state. That's always been their objective. And they just use the families as cover, as a fig leaf for that politically motivated objective. The bankruptcy laws expose that, because we got to witness over the last 2 years, would they fight to maximize value, which meant maximize the value of Alex Jones, maximize the value of Infowars? Or would they instead use the bankruptcy proceedings to try to do what they were always about, shutting down and silencing Alex Jones and Infowars?
And because they couldn't find a crime, now they're just going to try to deep six it, and they thought they'd sneak in and just shut it down Friday.
Well,
yeah, why'd they do this now, Robert? They seem really panicked.
The timing is quite obvious. Yeah. So, I mean, for those that don't understand the protocol, what happens is you basically have someone who controls the money, controls the bank accounts. That is a hybrid. They're someone that may be recommended by the debtor, but they have to be approved of effectively by the bankruptcy court and to some degree by the creditors. And so you have somebody who controls the money. And if his goal was to maximize the monetary value of Infowars and Alex Jones, he would have done things radically different over the last 2 years than what he's actually done. goal has been.
Oh, he cut everything off. I mean, we go on the road, we make tons of money. Everything was cut off. He just said no to 12 million. Ad agencies are a fraud. And I said ad agencies are these are accredited companies. These are $1 billion. No, we're not. It's all over. He just cut everything off.
And he's using and weaponizing his access and control of the bank account to tell the security team whose funds he controls, whose paychecks he controls, you're going to lock up and padlock Infowars, and you're going to do it at my order because I control whether or not you get paid or not, even though there's no court order that justifies it, even though it's directly contrary.
So I was right to say you better check with the court, and then they actually checked with lawyers and said no.
Absolutely.
It was just
what he's doing violates his ethical and professional and legal obligations.
Fiduciary obligations to the creditors.
He's going to shut down the moneymaker for them, admitting the whole thing. Viva,
Alex,
go ahead.
Did you say
he's going to get rewarded on the backside? You presume? I mean, well, you find out like this is how corruption works in this system. That what happens is they don't get their money up front; they get their money on the backside. In bankruptcy, sadly, I've dealt with it in multiple contexts. You'll have a trustee or someone put into a fiduciary role like this individual who will then undermine the estate, and then 6 months, a year later, is employed by certain creditors or connected parties who were enriched by that.
Since that legal team is suing everybody and bringing them to bankruptcy, I mean, they could place him as a CRO. It could almost be like a little chain.
Well, who knows? I mean, all I know is he's literally, I'm in meetings with my lawyers saying, we got this money, he won't take it, then turns around and says, I stole it. I mean, the laziness, though, because my lawyers read all the filings by everybody. He didn't even know we'd filed in court and told the court about this money. And the judge flipped out on him at that point. Sorry.
They get away with it so routinely and regularly that they don't think anyone will expose them, and then they think they'll get away with it even when they get exposed. But the timing is clearly connected. In part, it's connected to the upcoming dates that his ability to control things might be removed, that you may be restored.
No, so that's it. The judge said 2 weeks ago, I'm removing you and giving him back to Jones on the 14th, so then he just tries to shut it.
Correct. In order to get paid off by somebody, you presume, is what I would presume.
Well, it's very interesting because, Alex, did you not say that this guy's getting paid $50,000 a month? Or someone said it?
Yeah, he's paid $50,000 a month.
Okay,
he's here like once a week, every 2 weeks. What did you say about every couple of weeks he's here?
I mean, in my opinion, I mean, clearly incompetent.
Well, beyond that, you don't take like major known sponsors that are like, it was like 4 sponsors, $12 million a year. It was like, because that's pure money. Because with the supplements, we only make like 30-40% because we discount it and it's high quality. Water filters, we have such a good deal, we make like 35%. So 10% off, we're making like 25%. He literally, I'm like, why are you cutting off all our sponsors? He freaking went.
But you should get into online gambling.
Well, the other time,
no, he pitched me on online gambling.
Yeah, well, it's probably pretty easy to launder money if you're operating a gambling.
I don't know what he was doing, but I said I'm not pitching gambling.
Here, hold on. I think I can add Chase by way of no, that's the wrong way. That's my ugly face here. This.
And so, Viva, you've been trying to talk, and Barnes is knocking it out of the park. I'm just telling you. We've been here. We've seen this. Barnes crawled through my books. All my lawyers that have been here, he represented me for years, have seen this, and they're so pissed that I'm a Boy Scout. Because quite frankly, guys, I ain't sitting there watching my bank account. I got CPAs. I got companies that handle that.
Alex, I think you might have answered my question because I'm thinking. I'm sitting here yesterday. I'm in Orlando with Barnes. I go to a pool with my kid, and I'm like, $50,000 a month. Why would the guy try to torpedo his own honey, or what is it called? His own golden goose. If it turns out that as of the 14th, he risks not getting his 50 G's a month, if that's what I've understood, then it might explain why he's prepared to torpedo this in the absence of a lawful order. But I want to.
Yeah, because he's about to lose control. No, the judge said 2 weeks ago, I'm giving the company back to Alex Jones. The creditors are not acting in good faith. He said this. It was a huge interview. It was a huge announcement.
Creditors are not acting in good faith.
Yeah, they don't want money. And so then they flip out and say, shut the son of a bitch down.
Well, that's always been their goal. I mean, the fact that they've, in my view, the plaintiffs' lawyers have violated their fiduciary obligations and committed legal malpractice towards their clients.
By the way, you saying this a year ago caused a whole firestorm I later learned within them. Start over, Barnes. Start over.
I was going to say Robert has said this at least over a year and a half ago because I remember the day he said it, and I was like, yeah. Well,
I mean, they've tried to weaponize the bankruptcy process to come after me. So that's how nuts these people are. Because their goal is political. Their goal is to use their clients for the.
By the way, that's off record. So if you want me to say it, I'll say it, Barnes. Part of their settlement was to let them sue you for malpractice. And of course I said, fuck you. I mean,
right. Yeah. Well, and they've been obsessed. The goal has been to weaponize this process to go after the people they consider political adversaries and effective political adversaries.
And they think I'm like them. Like, I've been friends with you for 6 years. I think you're a great guy. I don't throw my friends away. They're like, hey, we'll settle if you just throw. And they really don't. They want Barnes.
Yeah, they got to get into a little bit of a long line for that. There's a lot of some other people that are in the front, but that's the nature of what's taking place here. And I think the timing, the second aspect of the timing, is not coincidental. I think he's been escalating this plan, accelerating this plan for the purpose of taking off Infowars right on the eve of the election. It's right after Trump gets bogus indicted, the whole goal, and bogus convicted. And by
the way, the whole public gets that, and I think the earlier guest said that, Steve, both Jack Posobiec and Steve Quayle. I don't think they tried to use the cover of Trump indictment to do this. I think it's desperation, and they're just they've been given full.
They need people to believe the fake news that verdict is an honest verdict of an honest jury of an honest trial, because their whole goal has been to use that case to destroy him in the court.
I just can't believe I discovered it. And literally thought, why is the security guy acting creepy? I've known for a year and looking conflicted. And it just came to me. They're shutting it down tonight. And then I bluff him and say, so they're shutting it down. He goes, yeah, they're bringing in more people. I don't know. What do you know? I've only been told, yeah, we may change the locks tonight. And then I made calls and found out. And they were like, how do you know this? They think I'm the CIA. No, man, I've got the Holy Spirit. But this literally happened Friday night. I slept here. I slept here last night.
Yeah. And it's the nature of the system keeps escalating. And the question is where they go next if this doesn't work.
I'm scared to ask you, what are they going to do next?
We obviously have to pay attention to their efforts to escalate global conflict in terms of trying to provoke Russia into attacking Europe so they can create World War III. We have to worry about this bird flu nonsense that they're trying to use to not only retake over our last aspects of organic original food supply. How is it that the bird flu suddenly shows up and supposedly only travels through raw milk? That's just at the same time.
I want to speak to that, but everybody wants to know what's happening with us. And I'm a little selfish here, and I really respect you and Viva. So Viva has a talk to you, but Barnes, and then Viva. What is your advice to me? Because I only have people on that are right. So I have a lot of guests on a few times, and if they're right 80% of the time, they're on like once a year. If they're right 100% of the time, they're on every day. And I've been begging you to come on. So you've been right about 100% of the time. So please tell me what's going to happen next, Barnes.
Hopefully it doesn't. What's going to happen next in part?
Give me the bad news. I can take it.
Well, I think they always misread you. And so all efforts to shut you down are not going to work. So even if they physically lock certain doors of certain buildings, it's not going to lock up your voice. And you were never driven by money. You were never driven by favorable impressions of somebody, never driven by power. They never understood that Homeland caricature proved they didn't understand that, and they're going to continue.
Which they admitted the CIA was so upset to destroy the populist archetype, they admittedly produced all these shows and movies about me to hurt me, as if they got me, they got everybody. It's ridiculous.
Well, it was like the show trials. They really thought the show trials that they tested out, the ones that just got used against Trump, were tested out against you. And they thought it would work against you in the court of public opinion, and it backfired against them like it's going to backfire against
By the way, all choreographed by HBO with the same scripts, powder puffs. It was a movie set.
Yeah. I tell you what, the one good thing about that documentary, that wasn't made by the same guy who made the anti-Michael Jackson.
I haven't watched it. I can't handle it.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think Michael Jackson's probably innocent, because The One About You was definitely off the mark.
Alex,
they did stuff like they did stuff like depose my dad 8 times. My dad has nothing to do with this company.
Yeah,
he used to do FDA stuff. He's a doctor. I had him make sure all we had the approvals and the supplements were highest quality. My dad has nothing to do with this. Yep. And they literally have my dad in HBO. I haven't seen it, but I've seen a short clip. My mother is upset about it. Ask like he knows it's just pure horse shit. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
Well, in fact, that's the reason why they had to rig your trial. It was literally a show trial. They got upset that I talked about it at the time on Infowars, which was that in other words, in order for them to get away with libel, they need to make sure that you couldn't present a defense in the courtroom, because then they could say, oh, we're just broadcasting what happened in the courtroom. And for those that don't know, there are literally HBO movie cameras all around the courtroom. Some staring down.
No, I was there by both judges, and I looked, and I was like, I didn't know to Connecticut. That was the second trial. I went, Wait a minute, I've seen that exact font, that exact, holy shit, there's a script on her desk.
And that's the nature of it. But in order for that to work, they need they can excuse not covering your side of the equation if your side is not allowed to be.
Well, people ask why I got so freaked out at one point, have this really crazy look. I have a good memory. It used to be photographic. It's not now, but it's still really good. And I'm looking over at Barbara Bellis, and you got Judge Guerra Gamble in Texas, but I'd seen it like a month before. And I'm looking while she's babbling for talking to lawyers. She's right here, and I'm going, wait a minute. Those talking points, that's the exact list. I was like, oh my God. I was wow.
Barbara Bellis, for those who don't know, is the Connecticut judge. But Alex, what are they going to do next? The 1 level or the 2D level chess is they're going to use your case as an excuse to go after Rumble and other platforms. You issued the false flag warning a little while ago. And I said, okay, they might try to go after Trump because what's the next Rubicon after everything they've done? I think the flip side is if they do something bad or violent to Trump, it will garner public support, sympathy, and outrage. And so, Alex, you said it. I'm listening to your book, The Great Awakening, while I'm jogging. They're going to try to weaponize that, but not in a way that profits their adversaries. How do you get rage, sympathy, and how do you get that for your own candidate? My fear is that they're going to stay, they'll use all of this as a pretext. We went after Alex Jones. We went after Trump. And now something bad happened to Biden. And in so doing, they get to eliminate a number of
Well, that's what Biden said. He said Trump questioning his conviction is terrorism, and Google is censoring all Trump donation pages. That's pure election meddling.
Well, no, but not just that, but everybody knows that Biden is a liability, not an asset for the Democrats and for the next election. But you can't just ask him to leave. You can't just remove him without political blowback. If you were to remove or eliminate Trump, there would be political blowback, and you'd also have a viable candidate in his son, Don Jr., and not to pick one over the other, but you'd have a viable replacement, outrage, sympathy, and political, madness. What they're going to try to do in not a stage, an act of violence. I think they're genuinely going to try to eliminate Biden and then frame it as a response to the Trump verdict and this attack on you. And then they'll say, I think it'll be deep state-ish, and they'll say, look what happened. We enact justice on Trump, we enact justice on Jones, and then these animals come after Biden. And then whoever replaces Biden gets the sympathy vote, gets the outrage vote, and they eliminate the liability, put in someone who would otherwise be unelectable due to unpopularity, and say, this is what we have to do now because they are such rabid animals. The bottom line, though, Alex, is don't do anything stupid, but take it to court and see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen on June 14th. What's the hearing that's scheduled for the 14th intended to resolve?
The judge said that they're not settling, and he's excoriated them. And he said, this guy's never made this much money you're asking for. You guys need to go to mediation. He ordered it. And he's been a fair judge. And so he's going to either kick it back. He said, I will dismiss it and give it to Jones on the 14th. And then the state courts flood in to attack us. But for a while, I'll be back in charge. And we can fight that for a while. And so because that happened, then the next move was, okay, just use the CRO, shut it down.
Okay, but so give it back to Jones on the 14th means no longer trustee tutorship or curatorship, whatever.
No, Alex Jones is the sole member of the LLC, Free Speech Systems, is in charge. And so I'm not a lawyer, but I told my lawyers, I said, they want to shut this down. I think this guy's an operative. And I say that, quote, I believe it's my opinion. I believe the Sun came up this morning.
Colloquially.
And they're like, yeah, you're right. They're all like, they're all blown away. I keep predicting it all. Because it's an obvious move. The judge says, I'm not destroying Infowars. You do it in the state courts. He kind of passes the ball, hands it back to us, and then now they just go, we'll just close the doors. And that's what happened. So I need to be better because I get into all the little factoids and I'm obnoxious about it because that's how my brain works. I'm like, my brain's thinking about it, so I just say what I'm thinking, and I'm not totally sure, but it's very simple. The judge, Lopez, who's known as a very fair, scholarly judge, said, I'm not shutting it down. You don't have a real plan to McGill. You're not going to continue on. I'm giving it back to Alex Jones the 14th. And then a week and a half later, he says, I'm shutting the doors. It's very obvious that.
Yeah, well, as in shutting, I'm not shutting it down. We're going to give the company operation back to Alex Jones because he is the company behind it. They'll make the money and you'll exact your $1.5 billion judgment if and when whatever happens on appeal.
Yeah, exactly. The judge said, hey, I'm done. You're not in good faith. Jones gets it back. You deal with him. And then this happens.
Barnes, that's wild. I mean, now I'm understanding it. It's even more wild than I thought it was.
Yeah, well, it's sadly what Alex and I discussed all the way back to the beginning of this.
Yeah, 5 years ago, he said you can fight this, you can do whatever you want. It's attorney-client privilege. Can I say what you told me about?
Oh yeah,
Barnes,
go ahead.
Barnes said, best move is you just leave the country now. It's all rigged. Nothing you do is going to stop anything. All you can hope is the Supreme Court and just be straight on the merits. You got a 10% chance they're going to take it on that. And this is a deep state operation. You should just leave.
May I interject? And then they said to you, Alex, and we'll let you off some more softly if you allow us to go prosecute your attorney for malpractice. I never knew that. And when I said holy fuck over on Rumble, it's because I never knew that. That's what happened?
I was following you, but I missed the point. Go ahead.
That they said at some point to you, will be easier on you if you throw your attorney Barnes under the bus for malpractice. And you said, go fuck yourselves. And I never knew any of this.
Yeah, no, the plaintiffs repeatedly were like, we want Barnes. He did all this. He's the reason you're in trouble. And I'm like, no, you did this. It was all rigged. And then it was repeatedly brought up in the negotiations that if you get, the first thing was come out against the Second Amendment. And I said to my lawyer, this is a list of stuff they want me to be under their control. I said, go ahead and ask. And it was like, well, we want to meet with you then if you'll. And I was like, no, doing none of it. And the next thing was, we want you to say Robert Barnes. We want to sue Robert Barnes. We want you to give us the contract on him and say that you agree for us in your stead to sue Robert Barnes.
When the whole nature has been to first silence Alex Jones at Infowars.
And then scare any lawyer that represents somebody properly.
Exactly.
Just like the jailing of Trump lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. We kept saying it at the time. Everything vis-a-vis big tech censorship, everything vis-a-vis lawfare was going to be tested out on Alex Jones first. And if they got away with it with you, they were then going to use it on Trump, like they've used it on Trump throughout the civil and criminal cases, like they've used it on Trump's lawyers. I mean, when you have a professor, one of the most well-regarded, well-respected constitutional law professors in America, like Eastman, who they are trying to disbar and trying to imprison, literally imprison, with bogus cases in Georgia and Arizona. Or look at Dershowitz. Dershowitz said he's become persona non grata. And there's people that quit talking to his wife, quit talking to his kid. They've been lifelong friends and family. They use social shaming and censorship and bogus cases to go after him. And he's one of the most
Listen, I was out in the hallway in the Texas case, and I'm walking in with the security guys, and the other lawyers start laughing, and they're like, you and Barnes, we're going to get that Barnes. They really don't like you. So why is that, Robert?
Yeah, well, that's why I got the Bobby nickname. Well, they don't want any effective advocates, period.
Yeah, they go, we're going to get Bobby B. I told you. They go, you and your little buddy, we're going to get Bobby B. Tell Bobby B we said hi.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like,
holy shit. Robert, am I in trouble? Because I just want to avoid some trouble, people. I'm just going to go back out into the corner.
There was a lot of confession through projection. What was fascinating is what Alex and I talked about in the very beginning, that they had this caricature of him that they didn't understand. Just like with Trump, they had this caricature of Trump that most people would fold and capitulate in Alex's position under the pressure he's been under. Most people in politics would fold and capitulate under the pressure. They're trying to imprison.
Well, to be clear, I don't know how to fold. It's like, it's not that I don't fold. I don't know how.
Right. It's because they don't understand. They don't understand you. They don't understand Alex Jones. They don't understand Donald Trump. And they don't understand the American people. They don't understand the backbone of the American people, the common sense of the American people. They thought if they went after all this lawfare that Alex Jones and Infowars was shut down on its own accord. I mean, what they called for at the end of the Connecticut verdict was, hey, all Infowars audience, quit supporting Alex Jones, quit supporting Infowars, abandon him, and then everything might be okay. And it didn't happen. And the same with Trump. They keep expecting, hey, we'll do this lawfare and that lawfare and this other lawfare. We'll try to bankrupt him. We'll falsely accuse him of sexual assault. Well, here's
the thing about a fight. When you're just sitting there for no reason and somebody comes and punches you in the head, at least if you're me or people I've been around, like, you're not dealing with any thought now. You're in a war. And they don't get, like, the more they punch me, the meaner I get. It's like, you know.
Well, I think somebody compared it to your situation and Trump's situation to the old Godzilla. You know, the more you nuke them, the stronger they get, and that's going to continue to be the case. And I think and that's what they don't understand. The great saving grace of the American people and the American constitutional republic is the American people. Is that they are seeing through this lawfare against Alex Jones and Infowars, seeing through this lawfare against President Trump, seeing through this lawfare against Julian Assange and Ed Snowden and the January 6th defendants. And it's the legal system that must come, we'll see whether.
And that's what scares me, because lawyers are good when you need them, and there's some great lawyers, but 90% I say are either dumb or evil. And it's just, it's like this infestation, but you got to have one to counter it. So it's this paradox. But all the mainline military analysts, the Pentagon, even though a bunch of leaders are bad, they're like, you got to stop this nuclear war. But it's now a bunch of weird lawyers like Obama and inbred Rothschilds are like, no, a nuclear war, let's have one. Like, that is crazy that lawyers now think they know about nuclear war.
Well, there, in fairness, an article in the Huffington Post said a small nuclear war could be good for the environment. So
Sean Penn said that.
Well, it's we've talked about this. It's very much pre-World War I. So, I mean, that's probably the script to pay attention to. The banking elites were making horrific decisions. The political elites were making horrific decisions. And World War I birthed the Great Depression and brought fascism, communism, and then World War II. But we have people that have the moral broken compass of Kissinger with the IQ with the competence and capability of some of the worst leaders in the
Exactly. He had probably 170 IQ and was a sociopath. They have a 90 IQ and are a sociopath in control of nuclear weapons. They're the biggest danger to themselves.
That's what I described. I mean, Joe Biden, he's LBJ, but retarded. and if you combine those two, you really get a predictable. So you have these ethically compromised legal actors and political actors.
And by the way, people project all this power on the government. It's now come out. They had 60-minute shows about it. They were so mad. I was sending memos to Trump saying, hey, Fiona Hill and this guy are all Soros on the board. And he'd fire them, and they'd flip out and do 60 minutes about, I don't know George Soros. I love everybody. I'm a right-winger. It was like, I realized the political class is so dumb. Like, none of the Trump people were like Googling who was in the White House. So we want to say Trump's that strong. He's got an impetus to rebuild and turn on energy and bring jobs back and make better deals. So I want to say Trump's dumb. He's very smart in ways, but he's very blind because all he's been doing for 78 years is business, and he didn't even know how to go look at who was in there. But Flynn knew, so they got rid of him because he did know.
Well, and they waited actually for Flynn to list all the white hats before they got rid of him. I know because I represented some of those white hats. And Mueller went after every single one. Mueller used the guys.
That's right. So Flynn creates a list of who's good and who's bad, and then the enemy uses as a targeting list.
That's exactly right. And that's what they did. And what we're going to continue to see escalation between now and Election Day, because this is probably one of the most consequential elections in American history. Does lawfare get rewarded? Does the deep state get protected? Or do we finally, restore the American constitutional republic with by electing people who can make a meaningful institutional change?
No, I totally agree. So let me shift to Viva and you and Chase Shep at any time. Let's talk about the conviction. Obviously, the poll numbers show what we predicted. It ain't hard. I don't need a computer to tell me. Trump's gone up even again. Panic is setting in. Disagree if you do, but I don't think you're going to disagree with that. We're watching the same sunrise right here. What's going to happen now? Because they are in full shit britches mode right now.
Robert, you want to do it first?
Well, I mean, I think the risk, we're going to continue to see escalation, and the question is where we see that escalation. I think what you put out earlier today is important, reminding people don't take the bait on any J6 type action or the action that they could call a J6 type action. The don't raid.
Yeah,
any
false
place.
flag's their only hope. Violence is their only hope.
No, and I keep getting these messages, Viva, you're not going to vote your way out of tyranny. You're not going to mock your way out of this. And I was like, well, I won't call them feds because I don't want to call them feds, but I get the sneaking suspicion they're
not even feds. You'll give you $1,000 for every post to say Alex Jones is being shut down and people are pussies for nonviolence. No, I don't need. I have the human AI guy gave me. When I see X flooded with Alex Jones isn't being shut down and we should kill all the feds and it's time for war and they're being told to do it. So mark those accounts, folks. They're getting money to do it. Go ahead, Viva. Sorry.
My only, it's not a fear hiding a wish, it's a fear hiding a nightmare, is that the easiest thing for them to do is to stage something of a false flag against Biden and say these extreme MAGA Republicans can't be trusted. Look what they've done. Biden can't run anymore. Sympathy vote.
I think they may assassinate him and blame Trump. I think that's the move.
Well, and then replace him with Kamala or Gavin and say, though detestable, this is your moral vote against extreme MAGA Republicanism. That's my biggest concern. And you resolve a number of issues at the same time. One, Biden is corrupt and unelectable. Two, Kamala and Gavin are unelectable, except if you have the sympathy vote and the protest vote, which is what happens if you actually target violence.
Oh, yeah. My mother is super smart. She never tells me what's going on. She never gives me her opinion, but she's smart. She told me for 2 years they're going to kill Biden, blame Trump. That's going to be their secret in 2024. And that would be, if I was them, and I'm not evil, but I could look at it, they would kill Biden, blame a Trump supporter, make him a victim, and then bring in a sympathy vote, Big Mike. Or
exactly. And the third prong of that, restrict voting access. It's too dangerous to do it in person right now. We need to do it by mail-in.
And then restrict this video that's going to have 5 million views that'll get 100 million when they kill him.
It's I felt dirty for having the thought, but Alex, I'm listening to the Great Awakening. I'm like, think like the most evil person you could. What would you do? That's how I write the Jean Le Carré book. Robert, what do you say?
No, that's how we beat them, because as good people, we're like, I'm going to go home and have dinner with my wife and kids. I'm going to get in the pool. I'm going to go see my neighbors. I'm going to go to church.
Go fishing.
I mean, if you're an evil person, it's all scheming constantly. How do I fuck this person? How do I get more power? You've got to get in their minds. And once you do it, we're smarter than them. So then we're better than them once we start thinking evil. We don't implement the evil, but we think evil. Does that make sense? Any top general will tell you, getting in the mind of the enemy is paramount.
Plans to the Death Star in order to destroy it.
Yes.
Well, and I think Trump can provide some insurance for himself with his VP choice. That he needs to pick someone who's life insurance, not risk. That,
what do you think of a Rubio or? Trump, who do you think we should get as VP?
Tim Scott.
Well, I mean, definitely not Tim Scott. Definitely not Marco Rubio. Definitely not anybody. Not Nikki Haley. Not anybody who the deep state would feel very comfortable with.
But who's the best? Would you go with Devin Nunes? Would you go with Rand Paul?
I think either one of those is good. I think J.D. Vance is good. I think Ben Carson is good. I think Tulsi Gabbard. All those people are life insurance that the deep state would not trust to run the show outside of Trump. And that should be his number one.
Yeah, Trump needs a legate he can trust that will implement his plan.
Exactly. And someone the deep state is more scared of than him, or as scared of as they are with him. Because otherwise, the moment Nixon let Agnew be taken out and, decided between Rockefeller and Ford, either one, that was the day he was DOA. People forget Gerald Ford was on the Warren Commission. I mean, this guy was back aligned with the deep state from day one. And so it's important that they use, that he take the tactically savvy decision, continue to expose these bogus criminal trials for what they are, continue to push a populist reformist agenda.
No, I agree. So let me ask Viva this question too, but you finish up, Barnes. How panicked is the deep state? Because we see New York Post articles, and then the White House press secretary won't respond. No, they are in full chicken with the head cut off moment. And I don't take that as like, oh yeah, we're winning. That makes them even more dangerous.
I'll start half of this answer. There's nothing they wouldn't, in my view, there's nothing they wouldn't do given what they've already done. And we're talking about assassinating JFK, assassinating Bobby Kennedy. And then that's what they did 50 years ago. And maybe they decide now it's not as easy to do that given internet, phones, everything, aggregate knowledge of the internet, 4chan, and you can't get away with it. But they'll do. They've done everything. I mean, they've done everything from 2020, which was, I believe, whether or not COVID was real, I believe it was quasi-real, lie about death, lie about tragedy, exaggerate it, brainwash a population into voting, by mail-in, change the rules. They're going to just find another way to do this because this is what they did in 2020 and what they did in 2016, but they failed at it in 2016. Interference, censorship, change the rules. How are they going to do it this time around? They might try a disease X, but that's too cliched. It might have to be more cataclysmic. a World War III with a nuclear weapon going off in Europe, which some people are positing, false flag and whatever, that might be a little too much. Biden is 81. He's unelectable. He's an easy lamb to sacrifice. And I have my sinister, cryptic thoughts, which I will not allow to absorb me, but that's where I went.
Yeah, no, if we're them, they kill Biden and blame Trump supporters. So that's the next move. Obviously, us exposing it may stop it. And literally, that's why they hate the show. Barnes, if I was the establishment, I would back off and think I'll win in 20 years. I'll go away. But they're not doing it because they're so threatened by China, who's also corrupt and evil, and other groups. They want total control. But this is really a big moment here right now. They're watching as they attack Trump and everything backfires. If you're really good at wargaming, if you're in the councils of government, which you've been with Trump, what do you think the bad guys are thinking right now? Because we need to get next year's news, next month's news today. Really put on the thinking cap. Tell us what you think. And Viva Frei and also, in case you guys are smart, what's the enemy going to do? If you're the enemy, what do they do?
Well, a smart, sophisticated, Kissinger-esque deep state approach would be to try to cut a deal with Trump. Would be to say, look, we'll make sure you never serve any time in jail. We'll make sure you're not actually bankrupted. We'll make sure that these cases get overturned. We'll make sure that nothing bad happens to you personally or your family. And you agree to moderate your deep state opposition policies. Don't defund us. Don't purge the personnel. And we'll want some insurance, and that insurance will be, we want.
And let me just say, this is a genius answer. I think he did that 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I think he now knows they betrayed him. And so now Trump knows they're not honest dealers.
Correct. And I think we'll know whether or not he's even contemplating that by his VP choice. Like if a smart deep state would say, we want insurance, that you're going to abide by our principles in exchange for what we're going to provide. We want Tim Scott or Marco Rubio or Nikki Haley, someone like that as VP. If he doesn't choose any of those people, then that means no deal has been cut and he's not even contemplating it. So then the next step is what they would do. Still a smart, sophisticated deep state would be to try to plant people around him. People like, there's certain campaign people that are already infiltrated his camp that have that background. And to try to moderate, make sure his personnel choices are more our choices than his people. Make sure some of his policies and information that he's given about, this is while he's president.
So a rerun of last time.
Exactly. That would be the second. That'd be a sophisticated attempt. The great risk we have is we have a lot of unsophisticated people involved. That what happens when you have LBJ but retarded in the White House is you have World War III.
And they go on MSNBC with 100,000 viewers, and they think that's the whole world. They think they're winning. They're not.
Oh, exactly. They very much in bubbled universe. You can see that in live time and social media. They really thought this verdict would totally change the election outcome and trajectory. And instead, Trump's going up.
But it does seem it's dawning on them. So what are they going to do now?
That's the question. What happens when they fully realize that this strategy doesn't work? It'll probably take them a couple of months for them to really realize that. That's when the fall gets really scary. We might have one of the worst October surprises ever.
May I add, Robert? The fall was almost the pun. The fall. I remember hearing it and I remember what I thought. And Robert, you said it, and as I pulled it up, Ivana Trump, ex-wife, former President Trump, died from fall. Is there anybody who plausibly or has reasonable cause to think that that's an indication, a sign, or do we just
No, she's been a big defender of Trump, and she gets thrown down the stairs. But I don't know what your angle is, but I want to hear it.
Well, no, my only query at the time is whether or not I'm thinking cynically and almost conspiratorially, Alex, but I know that that's turned out to be more accurate over time than not. And no matter how cynically you get, it's hard to keep up. Lily Tomlin, his ex-wife dies by falling down the stairs. I've never known anybody in my entire life that has died by falling down the stairs.
I know a guy died falling down the stairs.
Was he drunk or was he?
It's rare, but it happens.
He was drunk.
Yeah, well, okay, I should say that. Let me qualify that. Not being drunk and not having an underlying issue. I always think maybe they had a stroke from the jab or drunk or on drugs. That's fine. But that happens, and people seem to have forgotten about his ex-wife dying by falling down the stairs. I don't know what threats could have, would have, or were issued against the family members. I retrospectively reassess that piece of information.
Well, I mean, what they've done in some other places, literally try to lock people up, like in Pakistan. The assassinate people, like we've seen attempted assassinations of MBS in Saudi Arabia, attempted assassination of the president of Slovakia, attempted assassinations elsewhere. They're attempting both coups and assassinations of Putin repeatedly over the last several years. So you could see that script being unmasked. But the other one is get us into something that takes everybody off the front page.
By the way, I think they killed the Iranian president because he made a backroom deal with Israel and Biden for the money and was part of a larger plan, and Iran realized it was a setup. That's just my quick gestalt analysis.
Well,
clearly, the Slovakian prime minister they tried to kill, that was a NATO operation. Yeah, we're in the season of false flags and assassinations.
I just saw this in the chat in Rumble, Robert. It said, and Alex, his sister died. Marianne Trump Barry, retired judge, and Donald Trump's sister dies. The thing is, at a given age, people die. I can appreciate that. I just say, if you're going to try to coerce some sort of compliance out of somebody, it's going to be threats on the younger family, their children and grandchildren, in depending on circumstances. That's where I would go. I mean, I don't know. Now I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and I might be getting 6. But it doesn't mean that there's not a 2 that I'm missing in there. Robert, what were you saying a moment ago?
Well, I just think we have to be on alert and to be self-conscious and to continue to fight the good cause.
Well, that was my next question, though. I go back to the question you didn't answer because we interrupted you 5 times. What do you think the deep state's thinking right now that everything they do turns to shit?
I'm very curious about that. So, I mean, we both study a lot of history, Alex. So my biggest concern is that it looks a lot like the buildup to World War I, that you have the same kind of incompetent, almost colonialist mindset of a lot of these elites that live in a very sort of embubbled universe that think they can play games with everyone's lives. And in the process, they unleash some of the worst debacle, not only World War I itself, but fascism, communism.
Which, by the way, the British Empire started, that's on record, but destroyed the British Empire.
Exactly. I mean,
so it's a Pyrrhic victory.
I mean, you had 7 centuries of the Austro-Hungarian Empire taken out overnight, and the Ottoman Empire taken out overnight, the Russian Empire taken out overnight, British Empire diminished to almost nothing overnight. To some degree, Bismarck's Germany taken out overnight, all because these people made incredibly horrendous decisions. And the people around Biden are just that bad. And, you know, do they want the Middle East aflame? Do they want Europe aflame? They seem to want, I mean, would that be a big enough distraction to allow Biden to be a wartime president and sneak into re-election, even if he's dead? I mean,
it's
look
like
at that
Netanyahu secretly standing down and working with the Iranians for the attack. So the Iranians figured out and killed their president. And they did it, folks. I've seen all the evidence. It's all about keeping Netanyahu in power. And it's just like, it's the same thing here. Have World War III so the left stays in power? Like, how dumb is this, man?
I think it all goes back. I think a lot of it goes back to.
Go ahead, Chase Geyser. You haven't been talking.
I just wanted to say, I think a lot of it goes back to keeping the dollar as the global reserve currency. We know that the intelligence community inherently has a very utilitarian, Machiavellian approach to how it makes decisions and strategies and tactics, right? So it's okay to kill 1,000 people if we believe that the estimates are 10,000 people.
And that's the excuse.
Right, that's the excuse. And when you do that, those who compromise become compromised. When you do that over a period of time, it actually doesn't work out the way that you thought. But when you look at these conflicts that we're in, whether it's Ukraine versus Russia, whether it's this tension with China and Iran, and now we have random instances of Blinken making comments about human rights issues in Kenya, and then you look into it and it's like, there's rumors that Kenya is involved in smuggling uranium to Iran. It all seems like we have over-sanctioned our competitors, our enemies, our allies.
The U.S. is definitely
over 50 years, and so Russia and China and Iran are trying to get something other than the dollar happening over there, and we're trying to stop that from happening because our money's fake. We have to have the global reserve status, otherwise our whole entire economy could collapse.
But I think trying to bully them makes it weaker.
Yeah, I think the intelligence community is always, basically every war that we've been involved in for the last 50 years has been because the intelligence community
propping up Bretton Woods.
Yes, exactly. Like we didn't need the oil in Iraq, but we needed the oil in Iraq to be traded in dollars. You know, so they're like, they didn't take any of the oil. It's like, yeah, but it's about how the oil's traded. It's an artificial demand for our currency over.
Great point. So what do you see on the war front, guys?
Robert, I'm going to let you answer and think about my answer in the meantime.
You have power-mad individuals who are not very bright. And so, I mean, like with Biden, you can predict him by thinking of a street-level thug. And that's why he couldn't help himself. When he's asked the question, Well, what about Trump blaming you for his conviction that you're
And
trying
he
to lock up?
smiles and does a little dance.
Exactly. Because that's what a street level thug thinks like, right? Now, a smart, sophisticated criminal would know not to do that, but that's not who Biden is. Biden is a street
Biden
level
would say,
thug.
this is tragic. I'm so sorry this has happened. I'm sorry he did that. It's just terrible. Instead, he's like, yeah, I did it. I did it.
I didn't graduate in the
Exactly.
first half of my class, but I did it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he wanted the credit for it. He wanted the attention for it. So.
Well, there's a real jealousy for real American presidents who wasn't perfect, like Nixon or Kennedy, because the system wants to make this here to themselves and be that middleman Trump talked about, where he discovered China's getting less money out of running the world's economy and industry for a few dozen middlemen. And Trump's like, we're cutting them out. It'll be better for China and the U.S. China actually liked that. Now we learn that China actually liked what Trump was doing, beating them, but he was going to say, hey, you're not going to dominate my people. We're going to give them the bigger piece of money and you'll get a slice too. I mean, that is just so incredible, Barnes. I'm sorry I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
Well, let me bring up just so everybody sees the beauty.
The day after, to begin.
This is Joe Biden.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump
unedited.
refers himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir?
Can you believe this is
You think
reality?
it will have an impact on the campaign?
All right. He might be senile, chalk it up to senility.
No, I mean, he wanted that credit. He wanted the world.
No,
to
remember
know
him a
this.
few years ago? Yeah, this prosecutor was investigating me and my son.
Yep.
I gave him an hour to fire him, and he got fired.
God, son of a bitch,
remember when
he fired him.
He used to go around and tell people, you don't F with the Bidens. This is the way he thinks. He thinks of street level criminal activity.
The question is this, and I'll ask Robert and Alex and Chase. So some people are positing that there'll have to be some false flag nuclear potential in Europe. What I can't even understand what happens if that happens. Some people are saying there's going to be fighting within the Islamic community.
No, I mean, I gut level feel nuclear war, and yeah, I'm worried about a NATO false flag. Yeah.
Yeah, but so how does
that's
that?
the greatest risk right there. They're trying to provoke Putin into doing it.
I just say, living on the peninsula of Florida, if an atomic bomb goes off in the Atlantic, a tsunami will wash over all of Florida. Will a dinghy or my kayak in the garage save me? Robert, Alex,
Viva, I'm actually an expert on nuclear war. I'm not a nuclear silo operator. I'm not a RAND Corporation nuclear war specialist. I just, for whatever reason, from a young age, thought warfare was very interesting. So by 10, I was reading PhD level books on nuclear war equations. And so this is something I talk about. I know all about the supers, all about the other systems, the neutron bombs, all of it. There is no war game by the RAND Corporation or by the Pentagon or by the Chinese, the Russians, or the EU or any group where a tactical nuke is used. And in most equations, within a few hours, there is a larger exchange. And within a day, there is a full exchange. So this isn't like, this is dominoes falling. So 90+% of the equations lead to full nuclear Armageddon, full commitment. And that means once it starts, India and Pakistan are going to hit each other. China's going to hit India. India's going to hit them. It's nuclear winter in the Northern Hemisphere. 90% of us are urban. Only 5% are self-sufficient in major, depending on actuaries. The nuclear war will kill 1 billion people in 40 minutes. And then the collapse will kill 6 billion. There might be 1 billion people left in the Southern Hemisphere, and there'll be total war and collapse there. But that'll be road warrior down there. We'll all be dead here. Let me explain something. There is no tactical nuke, as General Flynn says. There is no. The minute nukes are used, everyone goes ape shit and starts hitting each other. Okay, that's RAND Corporation doctrine.
I think that's why our intelligence community, as well as the rest of NATO, has been so antagonistic toward Russia as well, because it seems to me that we know that Putin is not a rash leader. He's measured. You can say he's a villain. You can say he's a hero. There's arguments for both sides. He's probably a combination of both. He's certainly cold.
But once it starts...
But the next person could be a madman.
Yeah, getting rid of him will only bring in a hardliner. But that's the point. The minute the West will detonate a nuke and say Putin did it. They already had a missile, last year went into went into Poland, and then Zelensky said, nuke Russia right now. They did it. But the Poles shot it down and got the tail number. It was a Ukrainian missile. It was 2 missiles. So what I'm saying is they're already pre-programming this. They're already saying this because they've got bunkers, and that will knock all their political opposition out. They'll reemerge as the new government. You watch Dr. Strangelove, which was based off information that came out in the early 60s, where Curtis LeMay and L.L. Nimitzer, the chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of the Air Force, said, we're going to go ahead and nuke Russia. They told Eisenhower, and then we'll only get 40 million killed. And then Eisenhower said, you're fired. Then they came back. And who worked for L.L. Nimitzer as the Chief of Staff? Donald Rumsfeld. So these people have running news articles that nuclear war is survivable. We'll just have a tactical nuclear war. You don't. Once a nuke goes off, the Russians or whatever side spray missiles. Okay, because you can't wait once that happens. The submarines come up, they spray cruise missiles, they spray Tridents, they spray ICBMs, they spray all this. The West sprays it, and then again, Pakistan and India and most actuaries are probably the most likely place to start. They've got huge arsenals. They hate each other. They're gonna, the minute nukes go off, they're gonna fire missiles. China's gonna fire missiles. It is a ape shit into the world scenario.
Well, and it fits 2 long-term agendas, which is they're obsessed with population control, Club of Rome, all that jazz, particularly Bill Gates and other people related to him. And it's long been cited, war and virus are the 2 main means of population control over time. And the other aspect, I would say the other aspect you just mentioned, people should be asking, why are there so many rich and powerful, politically active people who've been building special bunkers over the last decade? What are they preparing for that they're spending this much money building bunkers all around the world to live and reside in, Strangelove style?
I want to go back. Anybody that's ever been in a fight, and I've been in plenty, wish I wasn't, but the point was crazy days in Dallas. You don't sit there and get in a fight with somebody and start halfway hitting them. Once the fight starts, it's full power. So that's the way nuclear war works. Once one goes off, all of us in the West are dead in 1 hour. Okay, so 30 minutes probably. So there's nuclear submarines in the Gulf of Mexico, they're in the Atlantic, they're everywhere. And you hear the Pentagon going, oh God, we don't have enough submarines. The Russians and Chinese have more than we, and they've got cruise missiles. And again, the torpedoes are important because instead of an airburst, you push some super heavy hydrogen bomb. They got a lot worse stuff, and so do we. Here's the deal. It was like 15 years ago in the San Francisco Chronicle, the Pentagon gave a briefing to let the Russians know. They said, we've isolated antimatter, and we have an antimatter bomb that in our equations will destroy the solar system. We think Pluto might still be there. They wanted to, so what? So it goes back to our Strangelove where they have the doomsday bomb that blows up the whole Earth. That's a metaphor for nuclear war, blows it up. So it doesn't work. The movie is trying to talk to you like you're 5 years old. You start a nuclear war, a doomsday bomb goes up and blows everything, because that's what it is a doomsday bomb. You don't fire the weapon. I don't walk over to Chase right now. I'm friends with Chase. I like Chase. But if I walked over, Chase is not a pussy, and I just punch him in the nose for no reason, he's going to punch me back. And then I'm going to jump on top of him, and we're going to roll around the ground.
I'm going to die.
No, I'm serious.
Who is bigger between the two of you? Chase, I have no idea as to are you 5'6" or are you 6'4"?
He's tall. He's taller than me.
I'm 6'2".
Son of a bitch! Everybody in America is wildly tall. It's amazing.
No, I don't have a Napoleonic complex. I'm not a tough guy, but I've literally bashed the brains out of 6'6" people. But let's move on from that. I'm not trying. Now I have a heart attack. I got to fight. Let's move on. That's not about that. I'm trying to explain. This is not me. I read nuclear warfare doctrine. Okay. This is doctrine. This is not even debatable. All the mainline analysts admit this. So let's talk about this. How do we stop this, Barnes?
Hold on. I'll feel, but Alex, I'm going to take it back only to the practical level. We cannot stop nuclear war because there are maniacs out there. Bottom line, as far as Infowars is concerned, is there a hearing tomorrow? When is the next court date for whether or not Infowars gets shut down?
I know everybody's tuned in about us, and I'm just saying we're important because it's an archetype of and a microcosm of the full attack. So we are important. But I mean, I was on his show before he was on. Mike Adams, really good guy, and he said, "What can we do to support you?" And I said, "I want you to support our videos and our archives and our information. That's why they want us off the air. Yeah, support me financially, great. I'm in bankruptcy. I didn't announce we're being taken over. I don't get any of the money. I said Free Speech System's got great products. Infowars has great products. You'll get them probably shipped, but if we're going to be shut down, I don't know. My dad has drjonesnaturals.com. It's over there. He's got a bunch of great products. My dad will back me. I could call my dad at 3 a.m. I mean, literally, when I was a kid, he would just, my mom was great, but if I had the flu or whatever, he was up with me all night. That guy is I had the best dad ever. He's incredible. And my dad is being sued by them. He's lost everything he's had. They've sued him for 2 years. The Democratic Party top law firm that Hillary is involved in runs it all, and my dad has lost everything, and he doesn't even care. He goes, I love you, whatever. Don't submit, don't settle, don't stop, I love you. But when you support drjonesnaturals.com, you're supporting my dad, who said he will pledge everything. He says, I'll sell my house, I'll do anything you want. But my dad's a great guy. If I asked my dad to kill somebody, he'd do it. I mean, the guy is just the best. And you support my family, drjonesnaturals.com, which will be our first sponsor with whatever comes out of this in the future. And I just can't let my dad down and my mom down. My mom, about 6 months ago, when they were being harassed and my dad was being attacked and called a criminal in the news, my mother's a big historian. She had a degree in history. And I was at her house, and I'm over there on this, Saturday night, we're eating dinner. And the kids go away, they're in the pool, and she comes over to me and she says, she never says hardly anything, but it's always so smart. And she's already been saying they're going to kill Biden for 2 years. And she grabs me by the arm and she says, you know the Spartans, don't you? And I said, yeah, Mom, I know the Spartans. She goes, do you know what? Come home with your shields or on it. And I said, what are you saying? She says, I don't want to put up with these people. I don't care what they do to us. I don't want you to go along with them. I don't want you to back off. I said, don't worry, I won't. She goes, I know you care about them attacking us. She said, on your shield or with your shield. She reversed it. And for those who don't know, the Spartans, who were incredible and held off, 50,000, 300's a cheesy movie. It's fun, but it's an exaggeration. But 300 for a week till they got betrayed by the spy, and all that's true. Literally held off hundreds of thousands of Persians at one gap. And so the women would say to the men leaving, because when you're in a war, when men give up, they drop their swords and shields because the enemy can't run as fast with their swords and shields. So when you flee, you drop your swords and shields. And the Spartans would tell their men, you come home with your shields or on them. You come home victorious or dead. And my mother, who says one thing a year to me that I should do, and it's always been dialed in, she said, you come home with your shield or on it. You don't back down. You don't give in. We don't care what happens to us. We want you to attack these people. And I saluted my mother. I hugged her and I said, I love you so much, Mother. She said, exactly. You go to prison. You get killed. You never give up. She looked me right in my eyes. And I said, I will do it, Mother.
Yeah, so
that's the only order I got. It's the only order I need, man. My mother knows these people are criminals. They know that they're liars. And my mother tells me, die for freedom. I'm ranting, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think if the ultimate answer to any evil is the goodness and righteousness of ordinary everyday people. And it's what's worked for all of human history, and it's what will continue to work. That people continue to rally to Revere's ride, then your ancestors fought at the connect all the way back to the tradition of the Alamo. They didn't win at the Alamo, but they won ultimately because of how they stood at the Alamo. And so that's the American tradition. It is always,
and that's what Chase said earlier. These attacks are triggering our epigenetics. My mother is a nice person, and she's ready for full war.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Barb, keep going.
Yeah. Well, one of my great granddaddies was the gentleman who said, "Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes" at Bunker Hill. We lost that day at Bunker Hill, but the way in which we fought at Bunker Hill helped win the American Revolution, which unleashed a revolution of freedom and liberty around the globe. And
well, that's it. These people fuck with people. They think Americans were intimidated because we were cowards. We were asleep. Now that they're attacking us, people are not scared. They are ready, Barnes.
Yeah, exactly. Just continue to stand by the American Constitution, fight for it in every legal means available and achievable and attainable to you. And history shows that it is much more likely to prevail than for the wrongdoers or those who wish harm upon the world will prevail. So that's the example to continue to live by, is the example that will continue to succeed.
Now, Alex, I'm not kicking you out, and there's no but to that. We're going to go to our vivabarneslaw.locals.com after party. We will continue following your story. As soon as there's news, and when there's news, you'll let us know. And I will obviously whenever come back on, as will Barnes, and vice versa. But I know that you've been live for however long you've been live for the last 3 days. When are you live next? And everybody knows where to find you. But what's your next schedule?
Harrison Smith, 8 a.m. I pointed the law out, the security company, and everybody else, so we won't be shut down until tomorrow afternoon. If the judge orders a shutdown, I don't think that's going to happen because, again, I came in here and called on the people and got attention to it, and they backed off. And then people go, "Oh, look, it didn't happen. You know, there's nothing wrong." No, we stood up. There's not just evil in the universe. And then I don't know when we're going to be shut down. I don't know. They tried it Friday and they tried it Saturday, and we came here and refused to leave. I do want to go home, sleep in my bed, sleep on the couch 2 days. This is like really messed me up. I'm a wimp. And so I'll be on at 11 a.m. Central. Owen Schroyer will be on the War Room, 3 p.m. Central. But the minute Pat McGill, the CRO, the federal appointee, the minute he gets a order from the judge, he will shut this down and fiduciarily shut down the money for the plaintiffs and all of it, which he's already tried to do, which is just insane. So that's where we are, and I thank you both for all the time, and it's been amazing. Thank you so much, Viva Frei and Robert Barnes. God bless you both.
Anytime and every time. We'll see you soon.
I appreciate your support. I've seen it, guys. Thank you.
All right, go. Have a good night.